Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the press conference of the film Le Lion est mort ce soir, The Lion Sleeps Tonight, which is in the official selection of the 65th edition of the San Sebastian International Film Festival. To talk about the film, we have the good fortune of having most of the cast and crew, so therefore, let me introduce you to them. Inés de la Rivière, who's the director's assistant, Rudab Dorkendik, who's sound, Tom Khalayi, DOP, producers Jérôme Dorfer and Machiko Yoshitaki, the actress Pauline Etienne, the actor Jean-Pierre Lode, and director Nobuhiro Suwa.
Je vais le faire en français pour Jean-Pierre.
Oh, okay, but... Bueno. Solucionado el tema traducción.
Okay, translation issues are solved. Perhaps I would like, before we... Could you tell us whether the director, Mr. Suwa, could you please explain how this project came about and that link to the French cinema films that have always formed part of your work, and what's the background of that film, and then we will talk about it further in detail.
$5年前にフランスのラロッシュ・リヨンというフィルムフェスティバル、そこで私のレトロスペクティブがあって、それから同時にジャンピエールの特集上映、2つのプログラムがそのフェスティバルの中であって、それでその時にジャンピエールも僕の作品を見てくれたんですね。それで僕の映画のこともジャンピエールは気に入ってくれて、それで、じゃあ一緒に会いましょうということで、そのフェスティバルの最中に一緒に、お会いしたんです。でそれが具体的な始まりでした。それで、一緒に映画を作りたいという希望をお互いに持ったわけなんです。
Tenemos traducción ahora del japonés.
We have a translation from Japanese, yes. Okay, at the beginning of the project started much earlier.
J'ai commencé à tourner dans les 400 coups avec François Truffaut.
I started to shoot with Truffaut 400 shots in Cahiers de Cinéma before I even made my first film. That is to say, I was in Cannes much earlier, way before the festival, and I spent
devant le stand des Cahiers du Cinéma.
To say, I participated in the entire process. I was there when Cahiers de Cinéma was made. When I said to say hello and the people from Cahiers de Cinéma, because for me to make films involves defending auteur cinema, and those that defend them are the critics. So therefore I went to talk to them, and while they were interviewing Mr. Suwa, we were in La Roche-de-Lyon, and when I went through the Cahiers de Cinéma, the stand, Mr. Suwa, who undoubtedly I'm very pleased to have worked with him in the film, because it was extraordinary for me what he has done. I know enormously what he's done with me, but the person who was interviewing him all of a sudden said, well, Mr. Soir has stopped all of a sudden, and he stopped talking and for about half an hour, if I recall, and talked to me. And all of a sudden, he saw me go by and he stopped talking, and therefore, subsequently, we met in the La Roche-sur-Yon, we met the producers, we smiled and we talked. And I saw a film that is a film which is an auteur film, and that's a film that also refers to the Nouvelle Vague. So therefore there was a couple there, it was a perfect couple. I think it's a film which is admirable, completely admirable, and so therefore when they proposed later on to shoot with Mr. Soir, I was obviously very pleased to do so, and then I continued, therefore, I can continue to work in front of the camera of this auteur director and his sort of auteur film. And then I was invited to go to Japan. And I was invited by a Japanese distributor who distributed all of Francois Truffaut's work in Japan. And so therefore, I was then invited to Japan, or I traveled there with my wife, of course, and with other people as well. And so, therefore, Mr. Soir, who is here today with us, he came to see me because I was in his country, and he looked at me, and he looked at me just like this. And all of a sudden, I don't know why. The truth is, I don't know why he felt very happy to see me, and well, okay, well, I started to sing. I felt very happy, and I started to sing. Just like this. Yes, the lion sleeps tonight. The lion sleeps tonight, and Mr. Soir was dumbfounded. His mouth was absolutely, he was awestruck, but this didn't fall on deaf ears. It turned up being the title of the film. And then they were traveling backwards to Paris, Japan, Japan to Paris trips, and Paris to Japan, Japan to Paris trips backwards and forwards to construct the, shall we say, the character together, the character that I had to portray in his film. And I'm continuing with my monologue now. But excuse me for doing this, but I'm very, very happy to have made this admirable film and participated in it. But Mr. Soir has a type of difficulty vis-a-vis dialogues. Well, he had a certain slight difficulty when he talked to me. Japan, Paris, Paris, Japan. It was a trifle difficult to construct the character, and as there was a certain difficulty as regards the dialogues, that I had to perform with the love of my life, and obviously in his film and in front of the camera. And obviously the idea was to see how man ages, isn't that right? The decline of that man as he ages from his youth until the age I have. And that's when I said, we've got a problem with the dialogues. And what do we have to do here? And I thought, well, I thought about in my head, which is quite old now, I started to think, and all of a sudden, I thought about my father, father physically, Thierry Léon. Why? Well, because my father, my symbolic father, is Francois Truffaut. Isn't that right? That seems to be very clear. But my physical, shall we say, biological father wrote he wrote all his life, but he wrote some work that was projected in l'Odéon. Okay. And then, and thinking about all this, I called to the l'Odéon, and they had recorded with a camera. They had recorded my father's work, which was, I don't know when it was shown, many years back before the death of my friend Francois Truffaut. So therefore I received this cassette which had kept the dialogues of that piece of work, and I saw the dialogues, and it's got Uge and Mina. And therefore what I did was apply, well, I saw everything on the computer screen, and I listened to all of those dialogues, and I gave them to, I sent them on to Mr. Soir, and Mr. Soir read that list of dialogues, and I, myself, I don't know how to say this. He put them in the mouth of the character I portray, and especially with the ghost, and therefore I became a medium of my own physical father. And that's how I was able to play tribute, thanks to the dialogues of Mr. Soir. I think that's formidable. It's an anecdote, but that's formidable. So therefore, Mr. Soir has read the dialogues, and he's kept them, and he's put them in his pocket. He put them in his pocket, and I thought it was all well and good, so therefore he put them in his pocket. So, and I said, okay, well, let's shoot. And I said, well, okay. And then later on we'll talk about his father's dialogues. And I said, oh, well, okay. But I thought, well, let's do it quickly, because at the end of the day I'm going to have to learn it off very quickly, because he gave me the dialogues, but in slowly. But so therefore there was a certain improvisation in my performance, and I feel very happy for that tribute that I've given to my physical father, Mr. Kier Léaud, homage, the tribute that I've played in this film to Mr. Soir, The Lion Sleeps Tonight. And on the other hand, blah, 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 blah. The telephone, my agent, I go to bed very early. But one has to be there and answer the phone. You have to sleep very well. And the producer called me on the phone. Don't you know a song that perhaps you could sing, a song that you could probably sing in front of the woman of your life, the love of your life, in front of this woman. So if I started to think, and obviously I had to think, along with Mr. Soir, you have to think a lot. And then the idea came to me. I said, of course. As I've got to dance with the ghost in my arms, that idea came into my mind. The song that I sing in the film of Jean-Luc Godard, I answered that to the producer who's here with us here today. And of course, when I was the assistant to Jean-Luc Godard, and that came to my mind, and that's the result that you've seen. I'm in, and this is the song. It's good weather, and here we are under the rain, and this is what the lyrics are saying. Hello, hello, can you hear me? The weather's nice. Under your sky. And that is how all of a sudden Mr. Soir makes a quote of Jean-Luc Godard, quotes Jean-Luc Godard through me. And I feel very, very thankful and grateful, because he's at the same height and level as Jean-Luc Godard. In the genre of auteur cinema, he's a very good heir, and that's how everything came along. Thank you very much. Great detailed answer. We've still got the first intervention of Mr. Soir. Can you translate what Mr. Soir was saying? Mr. Soir in Japanese basically said what Jean-Pierre has said. He said that they had met 5 years ago, approximately, at a festival, L'Archange Serion, at the Film Festival, and there was a retrospective of his work and a special upon Jean-Pierre Léaud, and that's where they met, and that was the beginning or the seed of this project together. There's a question in the front row here, please. Please, a microphone. Hi. I would like to ask Jean-Pierre Léaud, the film is directed by children, young kids. That is to say, of the young directors that exist nowadays, do you have any opinion upon young directors and what they think of your films? Or what do you think of the films of the young directors and young people who are directing and making films nowadays?
Est-ce qu'il y a des metteurs en scène parmi les jeunes générations qui vous plaisent plus que d'autres?
Bien sûr. Dans la série Nouvelle Vague,
in the series of the new wave, which is constantly being renewed through younger generations, I have had the good luck of shooting with Olivier Assayas in his first film, a debut film, and then I've had the very good luck and the joy in this new wave, which, as I say, is perpetually renewing in auteur cinema. So therefore, I've been able to shoot with Bertrand Henilot and also with other young directors who continue with that movement, like Sumin Yang, it also pays tribute to Truffaut in a film, Le Commande du Louvre. And the new wave, the Nouvelle Vague, continues to perpetuate itself. And today I shot with Mr. Soir, who is also a great author. So therefore I continue to shoot. And as of late, in a very extraordinary way, all of a sudden, a young director, a Spanish director, I don't know where he's from, he's Catalan, that's right, he's Catalan, called me up on the phone, this young Catalan, he says, hello, how are you? And I meet with him, and he says, Carl, you're going to have to portray the death of Louis XIV. And I listened and said, the death of Louis XIV? Well, okay. So therefore I learnt off by heart the dialogues that he sent to me, which are the last words of the biographer of the King Louis XIV. All of that in a device, well, set up with 3 cameras. With Louis XIV, with his wig, the 3 cameras that continue to simultaneously shoot my actions, and from one day to the next, non-stop, night and day for a month. Any actor in the world would say, okay, that's enough. Sick and tired of this. Okay, this is like a boxing match, but I throw in the towel, but I managed to hold up for the entire month, and all of a sudden, and the last shot finally came along, and the last scene, which was the death of Louis XIV. And everyone on set was there, and obviously nobody could direct me. I was there on my own, and I had to portray the death of Louis XIV. That was was arriving on a set which was in complete silence, where there was strictly nobody there. And I called the producer on the phone that he wanted me to talk about the death of Louis XIV, director of the Cannes Film Festival. And I tried to find the words that were necessary. And I said to him, and he said, I've seen the film. Yep. And obviously talking to the director of the Cannes Film Festival, I said, well, okay, I've got an idea. You deserve the Golden Palm, the Palme d'Or. And quite quickly what I wrote down was a text and so on and so forth, blah, 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 to be able to say this speech in the microphones, talking to the entire world, because I was going to receive a Palme d'Or, an honorary Palme d'Or, and it was a ceremony, an honorary Palme d'Or at Cannes. And then subsequent to this person decides, obviously I was quite tired, but he decides, well, I had not recovered, and he decides, we've got to start to shoot this film right away. And I had not recovered, and we had to start to shoot Le Lion est mort ce soir, The Lion Sleeps Tonight. Now, allow Mr. Soir to talk, and sorry for my very long intervention there. I was speaking so long. Perhaps to complete this question, which is very interesting, we see Pauline, who's a young actress, and who could you explain her experience with working with Jean-Pierre Léaud, and because of the generation crossover between the young actress, the other leading man, could she talk a bit about this? I met Mr. Soir in the auditions, in the casting with other actresses, and the truth is there wasn't any script. Basically, there was just sort of a little treatment. We talked a lot and about this, and then before starting to shoot with Jean-Pierre Léaud, that we have to meet him, it's important to talk to him first. And he's a monument, Jean-Pierre Léaud. I'm a young actress, not a debutante, but I'm almost. But it was very important to get to meet him and know who he was, and to have a cup of tea. We went to a tea room, if I can recall correctly, to to meet each other. And as you can see him, he's someone who's very impressive when you get to meet him. I love to listen to him, and he loves to talk, so therefore everything worked very well between us. And then to shoot with him, the truth is at the beginning you're a bit afraid to work. The truth is you feel a bit afraid because there's someone who impresses you, but then I said, I've got to do what I know how to do, and we're here to do the same thing, to make a film together with the entire cast and crew. Yes, but she's very, very good professional. It's been a great happiness. I'm very happy to have worked with her. Thank you very much. As we've got on the panel Inés, Ferran, and Tom, I think that the film, what draws my attention is that sensorial background, sound, lighting, those types of elements that I believe to be of vital importance. Could you please explain how they addressed in your different fields, how you approach the film vis-a-vis the photography and so on and so forth? I want to say thank you to the entire cast and crew. A lot of solidarity, a tight-knitted group, always in favor of the film. Bear in mind that it's a film which was a very beautiful film, and they knew that as well. And then plus, of course, I want to highlight how fine Mr. Soir was. The entire cast and crew were all together, and they helped me enormously to concentrate. I want to thank them very much because they have been very helpful with me and with my work in front of the camera. What I would like to add is that the technique of Mr. Soir is as simple as just like, it's as simple as saying hello. And I'm used to Truffaut's technique in my mind, and that is to say, a lot of hours of rehearsals, and then after the 7th rehearsal, perhaps we started to shoot a scene or something like that. But with Mr. Soir, all the contrary, it's straight away, action.
Instantanément, sur le coup.
Almost instantaneously, immediately, all of a sudden you're shooting blah, 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 and that's it. And we had to portray the role. I've never done anything like that in my life. But that's the way it goes. And that's all I wanted to say. So it's been an extraordinary experience, the truth be said, at my age, but it's been an extraordinary experience at 73 years of age. And I don't know whether I need to repeat the question for the DOP, etc. Is that okay? Could you please say a few words about the sound and the photography? As regards to the presence of the sensorial aspect of the film and the feeling of the film, this comes from Soir, who's very sensitive, Mr. Soir, to the present moment we're living in, albeit there's a more conceptual dimension in his film, and it's also a film upon. But he's very sensitive in capturing everything that the actors have to offer, very sensitive with the young kids as well. And this can be applied to this relationship with the locations, for example. He was very sensitive in the way he addressed those different locations and the way people talk. And he's also a person that allows his collaborators a lot of freedom, and also he gives a lot of freedom to the actors. He allows things to flow. He allows for there to be proposals, and then he just starts to direct things the way he wants them to go. So therefore, it all took place in a very natural way, but also with those details and very deep rooted in the present moment. And for me, for example, how can I say this? I proposed things to him. Sometimes he listened to them and took them in. For example, when we talked about color and light, when he proposed that we work together, it's because he already knew what my work was like, and he liked the way I treated color in the films that I'd made beforehand. And this gave me a lot of confidence to continue and go ahead. So though the film should have a lot of color, it had to be a very lively looking film, and this fitted in very well with the young kids, with the issue of the young kids. So therefore, to shoot in the south of France, in some with all of that atmosphere, well, we wanted to capture that atmosphere as well, capture it in the images, and then the decorations in the interiorism of the house. The house is as it is. They say that blue room was already like that. We've not created anything. We've not changed. We've not painted anything again. And that is the true atmosphere of that place, and that it's inspired us very much. Sometimes it's just enough to pay attention to the atmosphere of a place and be capable of capturing it on camera. I feel very happy. I feel happy to have recording the sound of the film. This was a very significant challenge, and I want to thank Mr. Soir for having given us so much freedom when making any proposals or putting something forth. This work was based upon teamwork, and the sound in the film is also the result of all of that collective work. Well, I would say it's an honor to work for Mr. Soir, first of all. There's a word that comes to mind, and that is the term trust. That's a trust. He has put his trust in us. He's given us a lot of trust, and as a result of this, we try to give the best. We were prepared to go the extra yard. That trust allows us to go even further altogether. And it's something magical to be given this trust. It's something beautiful. It's something really beautiful. The experience was incredible. I would like to ask about the young kids. Where did they come from? And how did you find them? How was the casting process? And how did it feel when they were told that what the story was about, that fantastic type tone that the film has? And Jean-Pierre, Léo, how did you work with the young kids?
Bien, j'adore les enfants. La première fois que j'ai joué, j'étais un enfant.
Well, when I started to work with Francois, I was a child, so therefore that was great. I was a child myself when I started to work with Francois.
子供たちをどういうふうにキャスティングしたかっていうお話でいうと、通常の映画のキャスティングのような形をとっていないんですね。つまり映画に出演する子どもたちを探したのではなくて、最初にですね、子どもたちと一緒に映画を作るワークショップみたいなことをですね、やってみようというふうに考えて、それで、南フランスのグラースというところですけども、そのあるグループの人に手伝ってもらって、そこに、南仏の近くに主に近くに住んでいる子どもたちですけどもに声をかけて、20人ぐらいの子どもたちが集まってきて、その子どもたちと3回、3日間ぐらいのワークショップを3回ぐらいですかね、3回ぐらいやりました。でこれはもともと僕が日本で、ここ何年かですね、子ども映画教室っていう形で小学生たちと3日間で映画を作るっていうワークショップをやっていました。それが非常に面白かったんですね。だから子どもたちと映画を作る、だから子どもたちの映画を作るんじゃなくて、子どもたちに出演してもらって子どもをキャスティングして演じてもらうっていう関係じゃなくて、子どもたちと一緒に作るっていうことをやってみたかったんですね。なので一緒に映画を作るというワークショップをやってみようというふうにして始まった。でそこに集まってた子どもたちの中から最終的にこの映画の中に出てくれる子どもたちを選んで、その子どもたちはこっちがお願いしたことをやるんじゃなくて、この映画の中でもう一本映画を作る。この映画の撮影が始まる時に子どもたちに言ったんですけど、さあ僕たちはこれから2本の映画を作るよと。1本はライオンは今夜死ぬという映画、これをみんなで作るけれども、もう1本は君たちが作る映画、君たちはそれは君たちが自分で考えて、映画を作るのだというふうに言いました。そういうふうにして子どもたちをこの映画の中に招き入れていったという経緯でした。
Bon, moi j'interviens. Parce que
Well,
tout d'un coup,
all of a sudden, Mr. Soir says to me, tomorrow you're going to be stuck, you're going to meet a group of kids, and you'll have to portray something, and you'll have to improvise. Improvise. It's complicated sometimes to improvise, but quite fortunately and happily, my wife, she's a teacher and who's with us here in the room, we spent the whole night working, my wife and I.
un dialogue de Kierkegaard.
Based upon a dialogue by Kierkegaard, that is, we recorded it. We spent the whole night writing the entire night, and we portrayed this and the following day in order to be able to subsequently. We wrote it the entire night, and so we portrayed it the following day with the ghost scene, and that's it. It was edited out in the editing room, and I said to Mr. Soir, well, give me, even if you've cut it out of at least give me the images. But with Mr. Soir, improvisation is something permanent. It's almost continuous. Is that right? Yes, that's right.
映画全体的に即興的にやっぱり作られていくっていう要素がすごく多かったと思います。
Can we translate Mr. Soir, what Mr. Soir just said? Yes, how they chose the kids. The director, Mr. Soir, said that it was an audition, but not in a traditional sense or orthodox sense of the word. They were looking for young kid actors who would participate in the film like actors strictly, but we wanted them to make a film within his film, so therefore they looked in different places of France where there are workshops or centers where the kids learn to to things in the films or to make films, and they found in the south of France, in Grasse, in a city called Grasse, where they shot part of this film, they found a very interesting workshop of kids, and of those kids, 20 of which came out, which were some of these kids that played their roles. They did three one-day workshops, and Mr. Soir have taken this, and he, for example, had done this work with primary school kids in Japan. They do 3-day workshops where the kids learn to make films, from writing the script or giving an idea to shoot the film, and then to do the editing, and then finally see the film. It's an idea that he's always thought to be very interesting and very stimulating, and he did the same with the kids that he found in Grasse, and that's where the kids came out. When they started to participate in the film, they said to them, we're going to make 2 films. One's my film, and then there's a film that you guys are going to make. You participate, in the highest sense of the word, you participate in the film. My question is for Mr. Soir. Jean-Pierre Léaud, the death in the film is very present. For example, the character of Jean-Pierre Léaud speaks to his wife's ghost, and one of the kids has lost his father. Why that importance of death in the film, the importance of death being part of the film? Well, it's not exactly the subject matter of Mr. Soir, that is to say, death. Of course. On one occasion, if I recall, one of the days on set or on location, for example, I stood in front of a mirror, and he asked me to improvise in front of the mirror. I don't know how to say this. I'm 73, so I'm a senior citizen, so to speak. I'm a veteran, shall we say. And therefore, this improvisation in front of a mirror, therefore I looked in the camera and I said, let me look for the presence of death, but there was a staging of death that was invisible there, because at my age, we know that, of course, we can only live until a certain age, but this is an idea that I think about quite often, and of course, I don't think that this is the essential concern of Mr. Soir, but I know where I am and where I stand, I do. So what can I say about death? Jean Cocteau, in front of a mirror, said the following. He said, film is the only art that has to work, but works through the actor's performance, just like bees. But all of this through a beehive, but made of glass. So therefore I started to improvise in front of the mirror. But death is not the obsession of Mr. Soir, but it does obsess me.
この映画のテーマ、これから僕たちが作る映画のテーマということについて非常にシンプルに話をしたことがあります。ジャンピエロは覚えているかどうかわからないけど、それは死ではなくて生きているっていうことです。生きていることは素晴らしいという映画にしようと。だからここのご指摘いただいたように映画の中に死という言葉や死というモチーフはたくさん出てきます。 でジャンという俳優は死について悩んでいるというよりは死を演じられないということについて悩んでいるわけです。一方で子どもたちが映画を撮影するとですね、バンバン死ぬわけです。バンバンバン、簡単に死ぬわけです。それは生き生きとしたものなんですね。この映画の中では死という言葉がたくさん出てくるけど、映画を見ていただければここで現れてくるのはより生き生きと生きるっていうことを実感していく、そういう映画になっているのではないかというふうに思うんですね。それは映画の中で、これはピエール・レオお父さんが書いたダイアログの中にありますけど、生と死というのは一緒のもので、死があるから生があり、生があるから死があるのだというセリフがあります。そのようなものとして死というものを扱っているけれども、でもこの映画が表現したいことっていうのは生き生きとしている。だから例えばポーリーヌが演じた俳優、
So the most important thing for him is to affirm life. I think that's what he's trying to say. And every day. And I feel very happy of being able to affirm, shall we say, life in front of his camera. He affirms life, and what can I say that on the one hand we have life, but on the other side we've got death, haven't we? And that is the two sides of the same coin.
いわゆる幽霊なんですけど、とても生き生きとしている、そういうそのジュリエットを作ってくれた。それもこの映画にとってすごく大事だと思うんです。
Yes, it's true that death is present in different elements in the film, but more than making a film about death as such, about death per se, I wanted for it to a certain extent reflect the joy of living and how beautiful life is. The death in this film is not the main storyline, but it's an element that allows us to see other elements. And as Jean-Pierre says at the end of the film, life and death are interlinked. They are two sides of the same reality. If you notice in the film, death appears in different shapes. On the one hand, we've got Jean-Pierre, who has this conflict with himself, and this internal conflict because he can't represent his death in the right way or this appropriate way. He tries to do it the best way possible, and he suffers in a certain way. But vis-a-vis this, we've got the kids that in their own film, they die in with a lot of horrible way, but they represent death very easily. And then we've got the figure of Juliette, who appears a dead person who comes back to life, and it's really beautiful, and she's full of life and full of light, so to speak. Death has not been a sad element in this film, but it has been an element that has allowed us precisely to express the beauty of life and the joy of living, and that was our objective. That's how I conceived the project.
Physique. Les dialogues de Pierre Léon.
The physical father, Pierre Léon's, and that post-mortem dialogue tribute that I articulate. And then you've got the symbolic father who has communicated his life for cinema, and that's François Truffaut. And the truth is, I advance, and I don't know, at this age, obviously, I know that everything comes to an end, but I'm advancing towards that last father, the eternal father, everlasting father. One final question, I think this question. Congratulations. Congratulations. I have a question. Can we consider that this film is a masterclass or a cinematographic class directed at young filmmakers, and above all, to filmmakers of the that new generation who didn't live through those times of glory of Cahiers du Cinéma? have not seen the glorious, those glory days of that type of filmmaking. Thank you. As regards to me, what a perfect couple would be a film, something perfect would be a film about the nouvelle vague, the new wave.
わからないんですけれども、この映画を作ろうと思っている人たちがこの映画を見たときに、ああ、映画っていうのは、やはり自由なものなんだというふうに思ってほしいなと。で、僕はやっぱりその映画を作るってことはその何か奇跡的なことだと思うんです。いろんなものが出会うわけですけど、僕とジャンピエールとかスタッフ一人一人みんな、それは日常的なことであると同時にとても奇跡的なことですね。映画を作るってことはやはり何か奇跡的なことなんだと、そういうことが起きるんだというふうに思いました、この映画を作って。でそのためにはやはりその映画を作る人が一人で、神のようにその自分の世界を作りたくて、構築するというものではなくて、そこに参加していくいろんな人たちの出会いというものに自分自身を開いていってオープンにして、このカンファレンスを見ても僕はあんまり喋んなくてもいいんです。みんながいるから、で僕はいればいいんです。でもいるということが大事で、それがそのいろんな出会いを呼び込んでいく映画っていう奇跡を生み出していくような気がするんですね。そういうものを僕は信じたいと思うし、若い人たちにも何かみんなそれぞれの方法でそれは奇跡であるというふうな映画を作ってもらいたいなと思います。
Sure, could we translate? I couldn't say the same thing. I couldn't say the truth is whether this is a master class about how to make films, but what I would like to convey to everyone who wants to make films, who are interested in films and making films, is that the films are free. They can be done from complete freedom. And something that what I've realized by making films and making this film specifically, that in every film a small miracle, so to speak, takes place. Yes, of course, if he shoots with me, he's got to say that it's a miracle to shoot with me. Yes, thanks to this film, I've managed to meet with Jean-Pierre and all of the people who have participated in the film, and this is a true miracle. If we look at it from another point of view, is that every day we always meet people with other people who enrich us and who we enrich. But this happens within films, and I can be in a film and make a film because all of my entire cast and crew are there, and I am who I am in the film thanks to others, and that for me is very important to convey to the new generation of people who want to make films. Well, okay. We have to finish the press conference. I'm not too sure whether anyone wants to add anything. Nobody? I want to say thank you to Mr. Soir and to the entire cast and crew who have been so kind and who have worked with me. A lot of solidarity. Thank you to everyone and Mr. Soir in particular. That's all.